Whose pile is that? I think I know. Just shooting the shit with the bros. Come and join along. Don't forget to load your bong. It's Quality Piles. We can never be wrong.
Hello and welcome back to the cast. We got interesting one tonight. Actually, Big D is going to be leading the way on this one here. Big D, what do we got?
Yeah, so this is something that I saw on Twitter late one night, and by the morning it seemed to have been resolved as things happen quickly in Hollywood land there. So, for anyone who's a big Mandalorian fan or has been following any of that new series that Disney's been doing, new Star Wars series, Gina Carano, who was a UFC fighter originally, has been on there as a series regular. And from, I don't want to give anything away, but from the storyline and everything, it seemed like she probably was going to be hanging around and you'd be seeing more of her in the future, but not anymore. She made a tweet talking about something about Nazi Germany. It was basically likening yeah, she was likening yeah, I don't know if you have the tweet here. I'm trying to remember exactly what it's about. It was like a week ago. But did they have it on the actual page here? Sorry folks, for those at home, we have a screen here, but basically she made a comment about
I'm sorry for our
yeah yeah
viewers there. Just having to Google Nazi tweet.
yeah here it is. This is
Here
the
it is,
actual
yeah.
tweet here. So Jews were beaten in the streets not by Nazi soldiers but by their neighbors, even by children. Because history is edited, most people today don't realize that they get to the point where Nazi soldiers could easily round up thousands of Jews. The government first made their own neighborhoods simply hate being Jews. How is it different than hating someone for the political views? So basically, yeah, now I remember what she. So basically, she was just saying, there's this crazy divide between left and right. People are fucking disowning family members and friends over who they voted for or which way they lean. And she likened it to Nazis, though. I think that's probably where it went over the line for a lot of people, and most likely that's kind of where it went for Disney as well, too. So, although I don't think she's wrong about this crazy divide between people, and it's insane to me to see people deleting their family members off Facebook or not talking to people because of how they vote. I don't think in Canada we see it that much. At least I don't, but I know in the States it for sure happens. There's people who just will not talk to friends and family because they voted for Trump or whatever. So I think that point is not wrong, but I think she just kind of likened it to the wrong situation here.
Well, it's very different. Like, I don't think they're again, I'm not in the US, but I don't think there are gangs of people going up around like, oh, you voted for Biden? I'm gonna fucking whoop your ass, drag you out of your house in front of your family and beat you up with their kids. Like that, very, very different between what's happening.
Well, it's just that ability to take in all these opinions from all these people all in one go. I think it warps people's reality of what's actually happening. Like generally speaking, when it comes to all this like left versus right politics stuff, like the average person doesn't give a shit. Like 8 out of 10 people don't give a shit. Like they're just totally neutral. Like, okay, I read it a little bit, but yeah, not really, don't care. And when you go and read all these political articles, you're focused in on that 20% that does read, and so you get blasted with all these different opinions that aren't really representative of the population. So as a result of that, you kind of paint everybody with a broad brush, so to speak.
Yeah, it's the what do you call it? Like what do we call it? Where it's not a sounding board, or is it a sounding board where you're just constantly hearing the same thing over and
The
over
echo
again?
chamber.
Echo chamber. There you go.
Echo.
Yeah. Like that's what it looks like she's in. Like you can see some of these tweets that she's going on. Like, who cares? Like, you know what you're doing for a living, right? Like, you're trying to become a famous actress, and you are a famous actress, or were someone who's going to make a lot of money by performing in Star Wars. Like, you got it made. Like, just cash that check. Nope. You have to have an opinion on the election because it's your right.
Well, you have to have what's perceived to be the wrong opinion, though, right? To play devil's advocate, if she was going hard about how evil the right is and go left, I don't think that anyone would be saying anything right now.
I don't know about the Nazi thing either way.
Well, yeah. I think that's obviously what took it over the line, especially for a company like Disney, that has had a storied past in like racism and things like that when people really go deep into their archives. But, you know, Disney doesn't fuck around. They're running a huge section of media. So she really burned herself because it's not just like, oh, no, I'm off this one show from this one studio. Like the landscape we live in now as far as media production is really run by a few big players, and that's it. Like 3 or 4. Like not even like in the 90s there was like 10 or 12, right? But now there's with so many amalgamations and companies buying each other and streaming services owning rights to things and all this stuff, like she might have just blackballed herself from nearly everything. I did see something about she got hired. I don't remember who it was. She did get a new job somewhere. Oh, something with Ben Shapiro. So yeah, I mean, it's not going to be Disney level for at all, right? So that's now what she's going to be having to do is some little, you know, low budget shit, and maybe she'll squeak by and make a living, but I don't think she's going to make whatever she was getting paid. I can't imagine that, you know, even someone like her who was, you know, on a few episodes a year of that show was, you know, she's probably still making bank. I don't think anyone's going broke if they're working on a Star Wars movie or TV show.
Yeah, no kidding. But I mean, like, hey, it can't be 100% like her fault. Like you're saying, she was a UFC fighter, you know, professionally getting kicked in the head. Who knows, man? Like, there's a lot of consequences for that many concussions.
I don't know. I do like this quote that she made. She's quoting this author T.B. Labarge or Laberge or something. But it says, if you are silent about your beliefs because you are worried someone will be offended, then your beliefs are not that important to you, but rather what people think about you is, which is fair. I mean, you know, I'd rather somebody. Well, then again, I think there's not a whole lot of people out there who would say, I'd rather she come out and say something like this than, sure, you could light her up or something like that, or you could reply and argue with her, but I'd rather she go out and say it than not say it.
Look at what she does for a living now. Like, the whole media game or whatever is trying to offend as few people as possible. Like, if you've ever, like, we've all seen the new, like, blockbuster movies, like, they have anything and everything you could possibly imagine. Like, we need to cover every single demographic
so
that's
bad
out there. Like, you know what
Female
I mean? Like,
Ghostbusters flop.
yeah. Oh man,
Yeah.
like they're going too hard. Like, you should know better, or like have a management team or a publicist team coaching you better. You know what I mean? Like, who's looking out for this paycheck?
Just to touch on this whole like woke culture, that obviously we're in the woke revolution right now, right? Like that's clearly what's happening here. But I know lots of women, you know, people of color, gays, lesbians, who are friends of mine and who fucking hate that this shit is being forced down. Like, they don't want to be thrown in, you know, forcefully into everything, right? A lot of the, like, that's the thing, is they think that they're, you know, representing these folks and that representation is important and everything, which, you know, it is. But like, there's tons of roles and stories out there that are just more genuine, you know, that you can do this with. And when they just start jamming things in places, even people that are in those groups that they're trying to please are saying like, no, fuck, like, why are you doing this? Like, you know, I heard a story about like they're going to make Spider-Man gay suddenly or something. Like, it's so random. Like, it's not that I have a problem with it. Like, it's just that, like, why? It's never been part of the story. It doesn't make any sense. You're just changing it now.
It's not organic, right? Yeah, it's like organic. A good example would be like Schitt's Creek, right? If you guys watch that, that's a good example of you know, like yeah, exactly. It's funny because it's genuine. It's not just cramming it in there. So hopefully you'll get an article on CNN talking about it or some shit, right? It's I don't know. It's genuine. Bottom line.
Exactly. But I don't know. I guess that's where we are. I don't know. Who gets offended by saying like, "Hey guys, what's up, guys?" You know what I mean? Like, you know, you can't. Like, I know.
Well, not Carano. She goes by Beep Boop or Beep Bop or Boop.
No way. No way.
That was added to her Twitter profile. She added her pronouns of beep, bop, or boop. Holy shit, that's fucking actually pretty funny. Oh man. Oh my god. So she was, you know, like, yeah, I agree that she should just be able to say whatever she wants. It's free speech and all that. But like, you know, I hope she wasn't surprised when she woke up and didn't have a job, because, you know, at the end of the day, like, life is a game, man. We're all playing it. And you got to be smart. Like, you know, what do you value? Do you value your ability to speak your mind and say your truth or whatever she was saying? Or do you value your fucking paycheck? And like, sorry, like fucking, I would much rather continuously be getting that Disney check personally. And I'll keep my thoughts to myself, right? Or start a podcast anonymously, whatever, right? So there's lots of ways to do it.
But, oh man, like we all, I'm sure, want to say different things at work. Everybody does, like in work and anything. But I mean, you censor yourself. Like social media is not this uncensored place. Like it's not. Like you can only really be uncensored around your close friends, your friends and family, for the most part. I don't know.
And only some of them really now, right? Like, because people are so polarized about some of this stuff. And you know what people don't realize, and I've been part of the whole argument of how much control big tech has is insane. And I've said that a bunch of times, but however, I do understand they're running a company over there, and, you know, they are liable for what's going on their platform. So, you know, if I conspire to murder people or do something awful on their platform, and, you know, something in the real world occurs because of it, then what's the media going to say about them? Well, fucking Twitter did nothing about this, blah, 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 right? So like they don't really have a choice. Like I get it, you know, like I hate it in some regards, but I understand it as, you know, working in the business world. Like I totally get it. Like they can't just say, hey, do whatever the fuck you want on our platform, and, you know, hopefully nothing goes wrong. Like, cause that's really fucking dangerous precedent to set if they do that.
Yeah. Well, isn't that what they were going for before? Like they are the free platform. You could say whatever you want on there. We're not going to moderate it. But then they realize, like, oh shit, you got it. Yeah. Turns out we got to moderate stuff, and we got to start deleting videos. Oh, we saw like YouTube a couple of years ago demonetize all these things all the time because all the advertisers were leaving.
Yeah.
I don't even remember what that controversy was about, but
that's key though, right? Advertisers. Once Twitter started having ads, just like YouTube and all these other platforms, now they're liable to these companies' image, right? Like if I'm Gillette Razors, I don't want my fucking ad playing beside her tweet about Nazi Germany. Like, you know what I mean? Like, so I get it, right?
I haven't been on Twitter years. Like they're ads now. Like I thought it was.
No, there's ads interspersed with the tweets. So like every 5 tweets or something, there'll be an ad tweet, right? And I think they have algorithms that try to make it relatable to what you're looking at, right? So if you're looking at fucking snowblowers, you'll probably see an ad for Canadian Tire or whatever, or Home Depot or something. So, you know, whatever the ad might be, maybe she's flagged on their back end as, you know, Disney. So maybe they're playing like a new Disney ad, you know, after her tweet on your feed, right? And like that looks fucking shitty on them or whatever, right? Like who knows? Or UFC, you know, like who knows how that algorithm works and what it's using to relate things to. But like, you know, I don't think Dana White wants people to be scrolling Twitter and see like, oh yeah, you know, Conor McGregor's on his yacht, Gina Carano's talking about the Jews. The next tweet is like, yeah, UFC 259 coming up or whatever. Like, so I get it, right? Like it totally makes sense. Like it sucks in some regard because I like just hearing people's like unfiltered fucking thoughts, but like I totally understand from a business standpoint. And the bigger they've gotten, the more they've had to, you know, tighten the belt on that stuff.
Well, no one's above it right now. Like not even the big man, not even the big old Trump. Like that was some big news that happened in the last week there. Like I don't know if you got it there. Oh yeah, there it is.
Like a clip. Yeah, let me get an article here.
Yeah, so Trump's second impeachment failed. Obviously, it failed. Like it was just the publicity stunt. So they're saying, "Oh no, it's great. He can run again in 2024." Like, he's not going to. He's going to be like, I don't know what, 82, 83. I have no idea how old he is. Like somewhere around that age. Too old.
And it's like he's already done it, right? There's no point in going back and doing that again. He's got to move on to the next thing. Like especially a guy like him who's like always pushing for more. Like he's not gonna backtrack. Like I'm just waiting for the day when he announces he's gonna start like the Dawn News Network type thing, right? Like he's gonna do something like that, especially since he could take down Fox. Basically, he could take all their viewers if he wanted. All he needs is a cable channel, and away he goes.
Yeah, they're his viewers, right? Like a huge part of their audience is Trump supporters, and yeah, I think him running again. I don't think it's gonna happen. I could see him maybe even just kind of teasing it out there, and then, you know, like I think we talked about it in the past, like who knows, maybe one of his kids steps up or something, right? Like I think we might see some more of the Trump family. I just don't think it's going to be him. And, you know, I remember reading reports before coronavirus, before the shit fucking hit the fan, back when the world was a little bit more normal, you know, about Trump and him just being like this bored man who just hates his job going into work every day. Like, he didn't like being president. When exciting shit wasn't happening, he didn't like it. Right? Like, he likes to be out there. He wants to have press conferences. He wants to have shit to say. But like, when it's just like policy and just everyday stuff and there's nothing, you know, crazy happening, he's fucking bored. He just wants to be entertained. He likes, I don't blame him. The crazy shit that was going on for the last little while was fucking wild, being in his position and just being able to go out there and shoot your mouth off about whatever the fuck. Remember, we used to sync up and watch that and just text about like how fucking hilarious the shit he was saying was. Yeah.
They were
like,
so good.
Yeah, you just go off on reporters at the end, just go full rogue, and oh my god, so good. But like, he loves that shit. He loves talking shit and stuff, right? But when it came to doing the actual job, apparently like, he fucking wasn't happy at all, and I don't blame him. It's a fucking desk job for most of the time. Like,
yeah, and it's just you're putting out all these fires, like it's stupid fires, all kinds of bullshit that like nobody wants to deal with that crap unless you're like Joe Biden or something, where it's you know, probably a little bit more his speed.
I don't even know what I'm signing here. I don't even know what I'm signing.
oh fuck.
Like, if that video is a real video of him like saying that and signing it, like, why would you say that, man, in a room full of cameras?
Well, the guy's such a dummy. Like, even Obama said, like, I think it was like, I don't know, 2012 or something. He's like, you don't put it past Joe to fuck things up or something. Like, he was on the record saying that the guy's a goof. The guy's a complete goof.
Like, Barack didn't even have his back until it was looking like old Donnie Boy was going to win again. Then he stepped up and went out and hit the trail for him. But yeah, if you've seen like I said, I don't want to take sides here really, but some of the videos and shit I've seen, like on Inauguration Day, he's walking into the Capitol or whatever it is, and he looks at the Marines and says out loud, "Salute the Marines," and walks past them. He doesn't salute them. Yeah. He says it. He has an earpiece on, and he's obviously being fed like instructions for, and I'm sure that I'd imagine they do that for almost anyone that day because there's so much to remember. So I'm not gonna say, oh, it's because he's old and fucked. Like, I'm pretty sure everyone, you know, on that day being president, you probably do have someone in your ear saying, okay, next we're going here, then you need to go to this location, then we're doing. So I'm sure that everyone gets that, but it's just so funny that he interpreted "salute the Marines" to mean say that out loud and not actually salute the Marines. So that was hilarious. And of course, there was deep dives, you know, from the conspiracy theorists out there that were like, oh, it's because he doesn't know what the fuck he's doing, and the army doesn't back him, and they're still behind Trump, and there was a whole thing behind that, but they don't recognize him as the actual president. Like, yeah, there was a whole, I got people who was giving me some crazy shit about that, but no, he's obviously just has someone in his ear that day. I'm sure every president does. There's so much going on, but it was fucking funny that he literally out loud just said, "Salute the Marines," and then walked in and didn't salute them. That was fucking funny.
Oh, man. I don't know. Like, some of the memes coming out are gold. Like, one of my favorite memes that I've seen, like, you know, the dude hiding behind a tree in a yellow suit, like rubbing his hands. You know that one? Like, they Photoshop Kamala Harris's face over top of it. Oh, when Joe Biden coughs.
Yeah, he did. He coughed like twice the one day he was signing some shit at his desk, and he said something, and he did like 2 small coughs. I think that's what prompted that, but. Yeah, like there's no joke that like obviously, you know, he's 78, isn't he? Like, it's a matter of time, really. Like, sorry, but like statistically, she's gonna probably be president before she has to run for it herself. Like, you know, she's probably gonna end up having to take over at some point. I don't imagine he really, you know, crushes it this next 4 years health wise and everything. It's just not.
Well, I'm just trying to picture like because he's like the age of like your grandpa basically, right? I'm thinking back to my grandpa when he was alive. Like would I want that guy running a country? It's like, no, he's sitting there eating black licorice, slamming scotch all day. Like, yeah. No, I don't want this guy
holding his iPhone upside down.
Yeah.
Oh, I can't get it to work here. Can you give me a hand? Sir, that's a calculator.
Oh my God, I can't believe. Well, whatever.
Well, no. You can believe because he was the most voted for president of all time. Think of all the presidents there's been, and he's been the one who got the most votes. That makes total sense. Right. Those were not, you know, they weren't not Trump votes. They were definitely Joe Biden votes. So, yeah, I think there was a lot of not Trump. It's like, just please not Trump. I think that's literally where that huge wave came from. And it wasn't necessarily like, yeah, I didn't know almost anyone who was that fired up about Biden. Like most people who were fired up, even like celebrities and that, they were fired up about Kamala. They weren't fired up. No one was fired up about Biden. They're like, yeah, Biden Harris. Like they're way more excited about her and talking about, being the first, woman and person of color in the vice president chair and all that, like that's all I heard about. I didn't hear about, yeah, fucking Biden's the best. I'm so excited for Biden to get it. Like it was just, he's just a tool, a cog in the machine to get Trump the fuck out of there. That's what they wanted to do and they achieved it, right?
Bev, what's this super PAC that you have?
Yeah, so this is so basically this is interesting. I just saw this pop up because these guys I fucking hate these people. But anyway, so the Lincoln Project's basically a bunch of former Republican strategists, all failed. Important to note, they're all failed strategists. I don't think any of them actually got anyone where they were supposed to go. So keep that in mind. But anyway, so they're all these Republican strategists. They didn't like Trump, so then they were trying to basically form this super PAC called the Lincoln Project to try and get Biden elected. So they basically just ran all these super trashy attack ads against Trump and stuff like that. I don't think it was necessarily. I don't think they were really that effective. I mean, it was again, these guys are very bad at what they do, but you can see. You could understand why they were doing it, because when you just going through this article, like they were just talking about how the one guy, I think this Galen fellow, what's his name here, Reed Galen, he's basically charged out $24 million of the super PAC money back into his consulting firm. So it was just a way for them to try and milk some money out of all this, and they get behind all the donors for Biden and stuff because it's dumb money, right? They'll just they don't care what's what your project is, as long as you're anti-Trump, they'll give you money. So they dump all this money in, they siphon a bunch of it out, and they run they have their little shitty campaigns they're running. They pump some money into Facebook campaigns and all this crap. But just in there, oh, here it is. Galen's firm reaped just over $24 million from the project during the 2020 election cycle. So it's just a get rich quick scheme, and it worked beautifully for these guys. But yeah, here's the one project they ran. They spent $180,000 on Facebook ads, just a bunch of bullshit, basically. But
fucking super PAC. I'm super packing. That's all I can think about. Sorry.
It's pretty wild how different it is up here in Canada, where we can. I think it's still $1,200 a year. Like us as an individual citizen or business can donate up to $1,200 maximum. In Canadian politics, right? That's
it's up to $1,550 now, but yeah, it's low. So it's basically the that doesn't really exist in Canada. And there are some ways around it, but it's the money's not there because really Canadian politics just doesn't matter. So it's bottom line. I mean, so there's no money behind it, and frankly, and you get the irony of all this as well, where really the Liberals and the Conservatives benefit from it because nobody supports the Green Party, and people who support the NDP don't have any money, so they have nothing to donate, or they don't make enough money, so they don't need the tax write-off. So it's biggest catch-22 for the four-party system, I guess, we've got here in Canada.
Yeah, I mean, I think the big thing too, though, is just the way we vote. By not, you don't go in and vote for Trudeau, you vote for the party in your riding, right? So I think it's just even the way that optically the way it works in Canada is completely different. So it doesn't even, you get a bunch of money behind it, it wouldn't even matter because the way we vote, it doesn't even really apply.
Yeah, I don't know. Every time you vote, you look and see who your person is. You never know.
And I might vote differently based on where I live versus what I think about who I want to run the country too, right? That's
100%. Who's going to be good for this area?
Yeah.
You just listen to their thing or go on their website and look at what they stand for. Oh, I don't stand for any of this. Absolutely not. Even though I've lifelong voted this way, no, yeah. I'm changing. I do not care. You are wrong.
Yeah. I won't give away where I live, but I'm typically conservative leaning, and my guy here is a fucking clown. So I just don't want to vote for him. So that's that's the way it is, right? So that's probably a lot of people in that boat, right? And maybe I don't want Trudeau running the country necessarily, but I also don't want this fucking ass clown running my neighborhood. You know,
Yeah,
so.
exactly. Well, I think the irony of all the Canadian stuff is like even if you are, Trudeau running the country, like he doesn't really like there's not a whole lot to run, like just through the structure. Like he doesn't have the same power like a president does in the U.S. Right? He doesn't have anything close to it. He's basically no different than your MP. He just happens to run he's got the top seat in the party, but still everything's got to be passed through the party. Through I don't know. There really just isn't a whole lot to it. You're basically the spokesman, pretty much.
Yeah.
Yeah, the best thing about being prime minister is to pick your buddies to get lifelong seats in the Senate. Like that's the best thing. Best part about being prime minister.
That's why anybody listening who's planning on being prime minister, come find me. I'll take you to lunch.
Yeah, we'll take care of you. Don't worry. Take you on a boys' weekend. Have a good time.
Well, speaking, so I guess while we're on the Canadian politics and Trudeau and all that, so they back in May, the Liberals announced they're going to ban 1,500 make and models of various firearms that are allegedly quote unquote assault style weapons. So basically, on the screen right now we've got it's a CBC article, the picture of some AR-15 rifles, so your typical military style rifle. So now they're trying to figure out how they're going to do the buyback program for that, and a bunch of countries have done buybacks. I think Australia and New Zealand, I think both actually did buybacks on their on this type of firearm years and years ago, and of course it didn't go over well, and people didn't get compensated well, because these are just as a bit of background, like a low end AR-15 is probably about $2,000 in Canada, and like most of them, if you get a decent one, it's $4,000 to $5,000. So are they?
But for American listeners, like, you cannot have fully automatic weapons at all, and your magazine size is limited to 4, right? Is it 3
5.
or 4? 5.
So it's you get 5 rounds and a semi-automatic. Well, I think it's either 5 or 10. Actually, shit. What is it? Well, let's call it 5. Yeah, call it.
You're gonna get fucking SWAT guys coming in your ceiling, fucking searching the shit.
Yeah, but that's the legal thing. Also, so if you want to own a handgun here in Canada, 5 rounds. There you go. So you can have 5 rounds legally. So they're going to ban legal gun owners that can have magazines that can handle 5 rounds. If you want to own a handgun here in Canada, you number one have to go pass your extra classes to get certified that you can handle a handgun. Then you have to go become a member of a gun range. Go to their place. They vet you, that you use their guns, and then the gun range themselves actually applies for your gun license. They're like, oh, yeah, this guy here over here, this girl over here, yeah, they're okay. They don't seem crazy. Yeah. They can get a gun, and then you can go buy a gun. Then you have to tell the police every time you want to move your gun anywhere. Like, I need to take my gun. I want to go to the gun range on Tuesday next week. I need to call up the police station. Like, hey, I'm going to take my gun and I'm going to go to the shooting range. I want to be there for 3:00. And they come back and like, yeah, that's okay. So you can go and take your gun at that time. Or they can actually say, no, you're not allowed to take your gun at that time. You have to wait. Like, it is extremely, extremely, extremely tight gun laws. But for whatever reason, the Liberals have a hard-on for this buyback program or whatever, because there is an increase in gun violence. And I'm sure that all those handguns and automatic weapons, were legally purchased here in Canada. Like, absolutely not.
God,
like, they're coming across the border from the States. Like, 1,000,000%. That's where they're coming from.
Well, there's just an article the other day of some like Toronto rapper who he had a warrant out of Ontario, so he fled to the U.S. He was there illegally. Then he got pulled over outside of like Duluth or something like that. And he had a like duffel bags full. I think he had like 400 guns of various types. And he was heading right to the border. He was just gonna cross the border somewhere and then take it down to Toronto and sell them. So I mean, that's how it's coming in, and everybody knows it. But the problem is that's difficult to enforce, because now first off, you're going after minorities, and you're going after like criminals. So that's harder to do. versus just going after legal gun owners where it's easy. You can implement policy and then they're going to follow it, and then boom. So yeah, you can measure the results of your investment, of your policy. But if you go the hard route of actually trying to stop that root problem, it's hard to measure, and you may not be successful. So like politically, it's a safer move just to go after the legal.
Yeah. My favorite thing about like owning a gun in Canada too is like all the rules about where to keep the gun and where to keep the ammo and lock this and lock that. Like then if you're buying it for quote unquote home protection, like if you really were going to have to try and protect yourself with a firearm in your house, you literally have to run around the house assembling the gun. Like wait there.
And it's illegal. You can't use a gun in Canada for home protection. Nope, illegal. Can't do that. But if you, just like you said, if you were to do it, yeah, your gun is locked up and trigger locked somewhere else, and then in a completely separate space, you got your ammo. Yeah, exactly what you're saying. Like, just wait here, Yeah. Like it's so
Kill some
dumb.
DVDs or something while I set this fucker up.
Yeah, like the biggest thing about this, like, it's the buyback. But what they're sneaking in there, and I guess this article doesn't touch on it, or maybe it does, is they're putting a part of the legislation being that individual municipalities can permanently ban handguns. So even legal gun owners cannot legally own their restricted firearms that they're fully licensed for, that they did all the proper paperwork, that they've done everything for. They can be like, oh yeah, your municipality no longer allows handguns. Yeah, that's it. And they want to give that power to the individual municipalities. It just doesn't make any sense at all, really. Like, just, I don't know, you increase policing a little bit. I don't know, maybe. Like, what the?
No, man, we gotta defund the police. Didn't you hear? Fuck. The best. Just to touch on that for a second, yeah, definitely increased policing would make a lot more sense. But I remember when that whole defund the police thing was huge, and the Toronto police chief like went on their online thing and was just like, "Do you people have any idea like how underfunded we fucking are already? Like we need to be like funded like probably fucking twice as much or more to actually be effective, and you guys are now calling for us to be unreal." Like anyone who actually understands how any of this works, understands that's none of this is the solution at all, right? Like that's basically what we're getting to. This is not a solution to the problem that they're proposing.
It's half measures. That's what they do with everything. The COVID response is a half measure. This is a half measure. They're scared to do to risk, to actually try anything and risk failure. They're just scared shitless to do it.
Yeah. Speaking of the old vid, today's day one for most of Ontario, with shit opening up more as well, which is also, I found out that the municipalities were individually responsible for what color code they'd be opening up at. So despite the fact that, say, where I live, with this many cases a few months ago would have been like green or yellow, we still opened at red because they actually opted to do that for this area. So that was kind of interesting. I didn't know that was different this time around. But you know what? I should have assumed it, because every single time we come in or out of a lockdown, there's a whole new set of rules and fucking things they make up every time. But day one of being sort of kind of open-ish. So.
Well, like I'm going to a funeral in a couple of days, and we're actually allowed to have it. I know I was supposed to go to a funeral back in the last lockdown, like back in last spring, and we couldn't because there were only allowed 10 people there, and that 10 people includes the funeral home staff. And like, okay, that's fine. I'll just wait in the car then. Like, that's okay. I'll just wait in the car. Nope, not allowed to do that either. You can't be anywhere in the car, anywhere around the property. So you just have to wait, let those 10 people do their thing. And now at least they open up more, like whatever it is, 25 or 35 people, I guess, and individual regions set their own things. But I'm curious if it's going to be inside or outside of, really. Like it's freezing here in Ontario right now, like that big polar vortex. But it's weird how the red and orange and green and yellow or whatever. Yeah, there is yellow, isn't there?
Yeah,
boys. Yeah, mm-hmm. They all mean different things than they did before. Like they're just constantly changing what everything is. Like, oh, okay, it's back to red with modifications though. And this is what the new modification.
And you're now in gray lockdown, but stuff is kind of open now. That's the new one too. So lockdown is not lockdown. So I think honestly what they're doing is slowly adding more to each category every time, right? Like they're slowly just gonna be like, you know, they gotta appease people. They gotta look like they're, you know, really cracking down for public health, but like they're not stupid. They need to run the fucking economy. So yeah, of course they're changing the goalposts every time, right? So
well, just imagine one of these counties or these health units had like a, you know, like a Trump style guy who's just like, yeah, the hell with it. We're gonna open green. We're fine, you know.
Well, like they did open up green in like Renfrew County, Prince Edward County, and
Kingston.
And like you saw in the news, like places like, oh yeah, we're busy. We don't want people from out of town, blah, blah, blah. Like, okay, you're telling me that a restaurant that's been closed for however many months that's finally open again is going to be checking people's IDs and turning people away? Not a chance. Like there's no way. Not a chance. Tell me those malls that are finally opening up again are going to be checking IDs like you're going into a club or something like that?
So
no way.
I was at a Cadillac Fairview Mall today, day one. And the only thing that was different is they have hired security people at every door now to actually make you either show them on your phone that you've completed their online questions, or they actually get you to answer those questions about have you been out of the country, blah, 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 blah. That was the only difference. Other than that, everything was completely normal. It literally looked like we had never locked down. So
are stores open then in the mall? And
yeah, like everything's open. If you're in a red zone, everything's open at whatever the capacity was before.
Well, so that's different. Oh my God, that's way different than the last red zone then.
Yeah.
It like, okay. So you can just do whatever you want. Yeah.
Yeah. Restaurants are only allowed like 5 to 10 people, depending on their size, for dine-in. So I would imagine anyone who's running a small restaurant, it's probably not worth their while to pay a server to serve those people. So I think
probably still getting that 75% wage subsidy from the feds. So
yeah, I will see. I'm sure some will, some won't. I mean, anyone who has an effective strategy around takeout and it's working for them, I imagine they're probably going to stick with that for the time being until they're able to open more tables and stuff too, like bars and stuff like that. I can't imagine they want to open for 5 people. Like, so it's interesting. I'm sure each individual business has to make their own decision as to whether that's worth it for them or not, and I think it's going to depend on a bunch of different factors, obviously.
So have any of you got so here in Ontario now you can order booze to go from restaurants? I've never done it because there's no fucking way I'm paid $15 a drink to go drink it at my house. Like, absolutely not. But I mean, have you guys ever done that?
I saw the sign the other day and I pointed that out to my wife. I was just like, this is the stupidest shit I ever seen. Like, are they still charging like bar and grill fucking prices for this beer? Like, I was in a parking lot and one restaurant had like booze to go sign, and then 3 units down was a LCBO. So I'm like, why the fuck would I come here and get their fucking $15, in a cup beer and take it home, and I could just go buy a can of probably exactly the same beer.
Yeah, that's all the craft beers too, which all taste the same. So it's not even worth paying the extra 30%.
Oh, do we want 30% hops, 40% hops? What do you got going on here? Is the craft beer craze still going on? Like, I haven't drank beer in years, but I mean, like, is it still going on? Like,
I know a guy who only will drink like micro brews, and that is it. Like and then was it Mill Street? Mill Street was like, they were independent for a long time, and then they got bought by like Labatt's or somebody. And once he found out that happened, that acquisition, he stopped drinking it. It's like, does it taste different now because it's owned by a large company? Like, unfucking real.
I actually switched. I did like the opposite. Like, I just stopped drinking. Like, I don't buy craft beers. Like, well, every once in a while I'll go buy some like locally if we're like near one or whatever. But generally don't buy them anymore because I don't know. Like we're on the OntarioCraftBrewers.com website, and we're just going through all these like Stack Brewing. I've had a bunch of their beers. Forefathers Brewing Company had a bunch of those. They all fucking taste the same. Walkerville Brewery, Royal City's got some nice unique ones, but a lot of all the ones they usually carry taste the same. I don't know. There's nothing.
I'm such a casual, like I'm a liquor guy anyway, but like when I drink beer, like I have a couple and that's about it, and then I have something else usually. So I don't give a fuck. Like you could be like a $20 can of this micro brew fucking craft thing ever, and you could give me like a can of Molson Canadian and I'll be fucking happy. Like I'll probably like the Canadian more, to be honest. Like I don't know. I'm trying to like drink a beer, not eat fucking wheat or whatever the fuck.
One thing I really want to try is going to like one of those make your own like wine and beer place. I know Rick's going to be doing a make your own wine type thing, but I want to try one of the beer ones where you go with like take a keg or whatever and they fill it up and see if it's actually any good or not, because it's like dirt cheap. It's like 100, you can get like 6 2-4s of beer or the equivalent to that for $150. They can brew it like any type that you like if you like Rickard's Red or whatever, they can brew a Rickard's Red style. So I wouldn't mind trying it, see if it's actually any good, because if it is, like, yeah, fuck buying all this Bancroft Brewing and all this bullshit. Like, just go to one of those. And then that's real small business. That's some dude like running it out of like an old Subway franchise.
Yeah.
Those people running those brew places, they're not making money. Like, I mean, there are always exceptions to that. Like the one that I'm going to go to, like, imports all their juices for their wines from all over the world, do all this stuff. It's nothing concentrate, all this stuff. I'm sure they're making money off of it.
Oh, it's an expensive business, bud. You got to buy all those fucking tubs, got to go to Home Depot and buy all the fucking tubs to make it in. Because they expect the thing to start.
It's more complicated than you think. So a couple of years ago, I bought juices. I'm like, you know what? I'm going to make it myself. I'm going to make it in my basement. I'm going to do everything legit. So bought all the equipment, bought a bunch of like these juices, not even concentrate. I bought concentrates too, and I gave up after the first round, like, because it's such a bitch. It's such a bitch. And like, I don't know where in the process I fucked up, and you don't know that you fucked up until months later, and it's too late.
Yeah, when you accidentally made Windex instead, you're like, fuck. What's going
I made
on?
one batch, it was okay. I made another batch, and like I drank a couple bottles. I'm like, okay, it's kind of juicy still. And by the end of it, it was like Jolly Ranchers and vodka. I'm like, okay, clearly I got some bacteria in there. I didn't clean something properly, or I added too much yeast, or it's too hot or too cold, or I have no fucking idea.
Yeah, it's a science for sure to actually make it work and not taste like shit. It's
yeah, but I mean, like, I don't think it should be that hard. Like, I mean, thousands of years our ancestors were like brewing shit and getting fucked up on it. Like, I felt like I should do it too. Clearly it's just not for me.
Well, they just found an old brewery, actually. I think it was in like Egypt or something like that, or Syria. But anyway, it was an old brewery. It had all the big like fermentation vats and all that were still kind of like in pieces or whatever, but it was all still kind of there. Anyway, but just on a side note, if any of the listeners are thinking about listen to that last segment and thought, oh shit, maybe I shouldn't start my craft brewery, I think craft cidery is where it's at, because there's not nearly as many of them. And I think you can attract a broader market, because you can get the beer drinker by make it more hoppy or whatever, add some grain to it or something, make it a little more grainy, and beer drinker will like it, and make it a little sweeter or whatever. You can attract some wine drinkers. That you can get kind of get the best of both worlds with ciders, and there aren't nearly as many. And it's easy to like flavor them. Like one of the ones like I really like is Heartwood. They have like a jalapeno flavored one and all that. Like, I think that's a no brainer.
Yeah, and yeah, speaking of like Heartwood, like that place seems legit. Like, I mean, it looks like a hobby thing that turned into something way more, but I mean, everyone loves it. Like, it's great. Looks really good. And like this, for our viewers, like looking at Ontario Craft Cider members, like the different colors of this map are the growing zones for orchards, right? Like that's what that is.
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah. And look at Southern Ontario. Like, there's such space for it. Like, look, around Prince Edward County, there are 3 members of that cidery. Like, that's crazy. Like, that's wine country, and then you got the other wine country down in Niagara. Like, those are the 2 air quotes wine country areas in Ontario, really. But like, how there's not more around Prince Edward County, beyond me. Like, there should be, because apples are cheap as hell, way cheaper, way easier to go than grapes. Could imagine. Like, have you ever brewed your own cider, Bev?
Yeah, I've done it 2 or 3 times. The first time it actually came out really good. It actually worked nicely. Then the second time, I think there must have been bacteria in there because every time I drink it, I get like gut rot, gut rot
The old
basically. And then
turpentine, nice.
then the third time, it actually came out. It came out too strong, so it was more of a wine, pretty much, just because I like double or tripled up the sugar because I wanted to get a little more intense on it, and that was a bad move. But the first time when I actually followed the recipe and followed the instructions, it came out beautifully.
Yeah, drink the first bottle at home, eh? Make sure that it's all good before you start taking it places and giving it to people and shit. Yeah, I made this wine. It's gonna be great. You're fucking poisoning your whole family. Merry Christmas.
Homemade
bud.
wine and beer stuff, like, yeah, you're pretty safe. Like homemade liquor, like, is that legal here in Canada? Like, I have no idea.
I don't think so.
Like, I don't know if we talked about this on the pod before. Or I know I've talked about it in the past, and I just think it's the most ridiculous thing in the world because I don't know what the fuck I'm doing. In the first
Learn
part,
to moonshine.com. Sorry.
yeah, the first part of making like liquor and everything, like it's ethanol, but methanol comes off first. Like that's poison. Like that's like ethanol is poison too. But I mean, like it's poison. Like you go blind on that shit. And Bev, was it you who was talking to someone like, oh, how do you like who was brewing it? Like, oh, how do you know when it's going to switch from methanol to ethanol? And what was their answer? I think it's the best thing ever. If you don't remember, I
I can't remember. Yeah.
Oh, you'll know was the response. Oh, you'll know.
That guy.
It changes. Yeah, that one.
That
It's
guy's
just
so
like,
fucking
what do you
dumb.
mean you'll know? Like, I don't fucking know. I have no idea.
When you can't run your car off it anymore, then you know you're good.
So what are we looking at here, Bev?
So I just pulled up on the screen. Basically, you need to, if you want to distill spirits, you need to fill out this license and registration application. So it's like, what's your like business number and like what's your tell us about the business, what's your social and security number and licenses and all this bullshit. Like, I don't know. I saw another one here. It's like, called my local police department about legality of distilling in Ontario, and I bet you it'll say they couldn't give less of a shit.
I'm sure they don't care.
Yeah, unless you're out there selling, unless you just open up a little lemonade stand and you're selling homemade gin, and that's probably the only
Selling
time
it
they
in
might care.
fucking in bags like fucking Trailer Park Boys and their fucking bag liquor from the forest.
If you knew how to do it, like liquor's cheap. Like it is so cheap. Like, and the only reason it's so expensive, like here in Canada, is it's whatever 80 to 90% tax. Like it's all taxes. Like that's why it's expensive. The liquor itself is not the expensive part. Bottling is not expensive. It's a money grab. Like that's all it is.
Oh, 100%. Yeah, like a wine bottle, it's like a $1.10, and then the cork, yeah, it's dirt cheap.
Well, you see it, right? When you go traveling.
Buying bottles of wine in Portugal for less than two euros, like not like just buying some bottles. I remember seeing the same bottle. It was $15 here. Like it's fucking €2 over there.
Well,
And
I
they shipped
remember
it. Oh my
half
God.
a euro you could buy the table wine, and it comes in the same box that they sell broth in.
Oh my God. Yeah, I definitely
Wonders,
might have definitely drank that whole thing, and that was not a good time. That was not a good time.
I love that.
Splurge.
Just like, here, get your table wine.
Yeah.
That's
But
great.
yeah, table wine. It was like like a liter for 60 cents, 60.
Yeah. But even like you go to the US or whatever, you do like the duty free on your way back, like, and you can get like name brand big shit like from there that you know, stuff you would buy here and like less than half the price usually when you're doing that. Like that's when you see it, you're like, oh fuck.
I remember when I was 21, 22, I was down in California. I'm like, okay, we're going to drink tonight. We're going to go out. I go to the pharmacy and buy a 60 of Canadian Club imported from Canada, and it was $17. I'm like, what in the fuck is this? It's $55 up here. And they shipped it down from Canada, imported from Canada down there, $17 for a 60. Like that's
Buddy, Walgreens on Huntington Beach in fucking Cali. I did exactly the same thing. It was good for the fucking weekend. It's great. So cheap, man. Everything's so cheap. Unreal. Fucking Target. You can go to Target and fucking buy that shit. Like, it's everywhere.
Now, in the States, is like good quality scotches cheap too?
Um, Not really. I think like the scotches are more like a fixed price. Like I'm just checking now. Like when I used to go to the States all the time, I would go to this liquor store. And they had like this guy had everything. Whoops, no. So I just wanted to check, but I think like they're all kind of fixed at a certain price. Oh, he doesn't have it online. Yeah, so like something like Scotch, which is a lot more controlled. I think that'd be more fixed, but you could get like all kinds of different beers, super cheap, vodkas, gins, like just cheap as hell.
Yeah. So that's what I want. Like I'm loving the scotch now, into the scotch. Not loving paying for scotch.
Yeah.
So if I'm going down to the States and you can bring back a bottle duty free after it, yeah, I'm 100 only going to bring scotch back.
It's still a little bit cheaper though. It's not like significantly cheaper like other stuff, but I do remember like I always pick up my dad like a bottle of scotch every time that because he's usually the guy who picks me up from the airport if I'm going away for work or whatever, and I always give him a bottle of scotch, and it is like it's cheaper, but it's not as drastic as other stuff for sure. But it is still cheaper if you go duty free for sure.
I wonder how long like LCBO is going to last. You know, like
All the grocery stores got everything now too, though. Like every grocery store around me has liquor and wine and beer. Like not liquor, sorry, wine and beer. Sorry, wine and beer.
oh yeah, I guess they've had the wine in the stores here for a while in those separate stores, right? Or can the
Yeah.
actual grocery store sell?
No, it's in
wine
the
now,
separate
like,
stores for that.
okay.
But the beer and shit they have like just out now, right? Like it's the
Yeah.
side of fucking pizza pockets or whatever in the freezer.
Yeah. Well, what are we looking at here, Bev?
Oh, I was just curious. I went to the LaFrog website. I'm just seeing what they got for what their prices are looking like. Also, one thing I noticed too, I love how when you can choose between the pound and the euro shows the German flag. Very appropriate.
Oh man.
I'm just having a quick pass here, see what they got.
I would have never guessed that's pronounced LaFrog. That looks fucking dick.
Yeah, but that was for their 25 year was 380 euros on their website, so $500.
Actually, I think yeah, because I think I got the quarter cask. I think I paid like $80 for the quarter cask Canadian.
That's wild.
Yeah.
That's
Oh no, this is the one I've got here. The 10-year-old cask, 55. Yeah, I paid $80 Canadian. They've got it for 55 pounds on their website.
They got a lot of cool merch on there
is that
too.
the pound side? Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And then what would it be in euro? Switch over there.
Let's see. Because if that's the case, then that's a good price. Like just like you said.
Boys, I couldn't
Oh
help
no,
but
that
notice.
was. Oh, sorry, that was euro. That was euro. Because then pound. Come on. Oh, I guess. What the hell? This is a very weird website. Okay, yeah, British. Now that's the pound. Where the hell did it go? 45. Okay, yeah, 45 pounds, about $80 Canadian.
Yeah,
Makes
so
sense.
hey, there you go. So I guess it's not marked up on scotches, but it is marked up on just regular vodkas and everything. Huh.
Yeah.
Weird.
Well, I think we're definitely winding down a little bit here. But one thing I did notice on their website, they have a lot of really cool merch. But you know what is even cooler than their merch? Our merch at qualitypiles.com.
Oh,
See how I did that there, boys? See?
yeah, that's
Nice plug. I like that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Why
It's
don't you
fucking subtle.
pull it up there? Oh,
yeah.
Oh, what's that? We're live, boys. Yeah.
There we go. Oh, we got winter gear too. If you're freezing at home, come on down. We got our toques here with the cuffed beanie, very well priced. Quality Paws. I'm gonna pick up one of these hats. Actually, I'm in the market for a new hat with red and white lettering. So that's
Yeah,
perfect.
that's your jam for sure. Yeah. We're gonna get some of these shirts for the boys for sure. I'm excited to rep the pod for sure. Summer, we got summer vibes going on.
Nice. Yeah.
Women's racerback tank. Nice.
Don't worry, all shirts are unisexed. No problem there.
Yeah.
Unisexed.
Nobody's
folks.
having sex here, boys. They're unsexed. Fucking unsexed. And we're gonna have a ton of more stuff in the future too. But yeah, these are just our
just firing it up. And,
Oh, you know what we should do? We'll get some. We should get Quality Piles, glassware.
oh, like rocks glasses.
Yeah, that'd be sick.
Oh, I like the sound of that. Yeah, or maybe a craft beer glass. Who knows? Okay. Well, check us out. Support the cast at qualitypiles.com. Quality Piles with an S, and we also have all our links to all of our latest episodes and everything there for you. So check us out, and take advantage of our shitty Canadian dollar. Buy some. Buy some
If you're
merch.
American, these are basically free shirts. So yeah.
On that note, everyone, thanks for joining us, and we'll see you guys again soon.